I think with the rise in at-home workout, I've seen so many like ads, like and targeted ads on Instagram and Facebook, but like especially on Instagram, um, about like sign up with us or whatever. And they're all doing different yoga, like they're all different yoga apps or like yoga studios that have now moved to online and want you to sign up with them online. But every single specifically yoga one that I look at, they say all of these Sanskrit words, they like have all of the poses, whatever, but every single one of them who teaches and works at that place, whether it's like an online place or like a physical place that became online, they are all white. And I find it so hard to actually like not take them seriously, but like I don't want to give you my money. Like I personally feel like it doesn't make any sense to me that you run a yoga studio, you're like you have fully like bought into every single aspect of yoga. Um but like literally commodified it to be so westernized. And you don't have a single person that works for you who is like, is South Asian, who might actually even know how to pronounce the words at the very basic level. Um, and it's like so strange to me because the commodification of yoga specifically is like, it's done as this like workout now. And there's hot yoga and power yoga and blah, blah, blah. But like, all those yogas like don't actually exist. There's one form of yoga and it's actually about strengthening like your mind body connection and not to like get abs and like have a round butt.
Yeah. I remember you saying how your grandpa and like still does this, practices yoga every day.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine what his reaction would be to what yoga has been commodified to in this day and age. But I remember you saying how it really is just more of like a mind body connection. It's more of like an internal, it's less of like this workout, it's less of the hot
Yeah.
yoga, like you said, like it's less of this get the beach body or tone
Yeah.
your body. It's really just more of in the internal work that comes from it.
Exactly. Exactly. And when my grandpa was coming to visit, I was like so excited. And I was like thinking of all these things that we could do together. And one of the things I was like, oh, well, he does yoga every day. I do yoga. We should do it together. And I was like, he's literally going to be like, whatever you're doing, it's not yoga. Like, he's literally going to be like, I don't know what the hell you're doing over there, but that's not yoga. And even if you look at like different, yoga studios that are based, say, in India versus the ones that you have here, the way that they do yoga is like wildly different. And I realized that I'm so used to now doing the yoga that like we do in the Western world that like it's so much slower, it's so much more mindful, it's like so much more intentional. And the focus isn't on like getting a good workout in,
Mhm.
that I can't even like necessarily do that type of yoga literally because it's harder than what we do here, because here it's like all about like the fitness aspect of it.
How do you feel when you're in like a hot yoga class? Because I remember when we went together,
Yeah.
and first of all, we went and Tarini fully pushed me to this like the front of the room because she didn't want to be there, and the class was full and we were late. So it was
It was
extremely
like it was like
it was
packed.
the
Also,
most
you were
packed.
literally fasting. So I don't know
Yeah.
why you were like hot yoga, sign me up. I haven't eaten or had water all day. I'll be there.
I'll be at the front of the class.
Yeah,
Teach, I'm right here. I'm right here.
I'm done.
How do you feel when you take a hot yoga class? Because I know there was a time where you actually used to like going.
Yeah, like I love going to them. Like I love going to hot yoga classes like because it is like a workout, you know? Like, it is a workout, and it's like a workout class, and, like, you go and that's what you do. But, like, when I hear them talk or, like, when I hear them say words or, like, like I just, like, roll my eyes because 'cause I'm like, 1, you have no idea what that means.
Mhm.
2, you're saying all the words incorrectly, like and it's, like, so funny too because there's specifically a studio called Power Yoga Canada, or, like, a brand, and that's the one that I go to, it's, like, the most popular, and there's one studio in specific that I go to, and they have all of these, like, literally Hindu gods, like these statues of Hindu gods, like all over the place. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, literally, I go in and I'm like, what the hell is this? And why? Literally, I'm like, why am I here? Like, I can't believe that you are here because, like, your ancestors are rolling in their graves. Like, I'm like, what the hell is happening whenever I go? And it's so wild because they'll be like, and now we're going to start off with an Om, and I'm like, ugh, no. I literally am like, no. Like, sometimes I purposefully go a couple minutes late so I can miss that part because I'm like, you're annoying. Like, it's stupid. And I get that they're trying to like remodel what yoga is to fit their narrative, but like that's the whole point of why it's wrong. And
Mhm.
like that conversation, just this conversation of like remodeling things to fit a Western perspective or space is like pervasive of not just yoga, but like so many other facets of wellness specifically, I feel like.
Yep. Very very Goop-esque.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed it in like things that are specifically Middle Eastern or Lebanese?
I mean, not so much in Middle Eastern culture, but I think of the time when I know we were talking about saging, and that was really big for us. We wanted to cleanse our energy, we wanted to cleanse our space, and everybody was looking to saging, and I just remember reading up on it and really thinking that it felt very
Yeah.
appropriating because it's such a big part of the indigenous community, and then especially I went to a local store that was selling sage, and I had asked them if they get it from, like, an indigenous vendor or, like, what
Yeah.
their supply chain is like, and
Yeah.
I couldn't do it, but the point I brought this up is because afterwards I realized that we actually have something in our in Islamic culture that we've literally been doing ever since I was a kid, which is like every Friday we would burn this specific type of incense, and my dad would go around and say a prayer, which was the
Yeah.
exact same thing as like cleansing your space. So it's so funny
Yep.
how like you immediately turn to like that westernized version
Totally.
of wellness without going back to what it is that you know.
No, and it's so true. And that's like such a good point because like you have exactly that. And every like we had this sage bundle in our house, and I don't even know where it came from.
This is
Um,
the biggest thing
it's
I've ever
like
seen.
literally the most aggressive like bundle of sage. Like it's thick with like a lot of C's. Like it's thick. Anyways, um, I don't even know where it came from. I don't know if my mom got it from somebody who is indigenous because she works with someone who's indigenous and
Yep.
they do it. So I'm assuming that's where it's from because I don't know where else it could be from. I'm obviously not. I didn't get it, and obviously my dad and my sister are not going to get it. Anyways, so I'm assuming that's where she got it from. And so now sometimes I use it, and it's so funny because the first time that I did it, my mom was like, she was like, "Yeah, okay, I get what you're doing." But it's so true. Like there's literally something it's like incense. They're incense sticks and you do the exact same thing. It's not every Friday. You can kind of do it whenever, but you usually do it when you're praying. And you like light the incense sticks and you like put them in like an incense holder and you kind of like take the smoke of the incense and like spread it around your house. Um and yeah, and, like, I never thought about doing that, and she was like, "This is just that, like, this is that, like,
Yeah.
I don't get it." But yeah, I never thought about just doing that first. It was like every, like, white girl influencer on YouTube was like, hey guys, so like I just want to like sage and like cleanse my space. And it's like, I'm not even making fun of them because I literally was, that was me. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, at myself, I want to cleanse my space with this fucking sage and did it. But like, it's so dumb because you literally buy into the westernized version when you literally have something in your own, for us, culture that is essentially that.
Yeah. But I think that's like the hardest thing too about the wellness industry. First of all, fun fact, the wellness industry is worth $4.3 trillion.
That's
You can
insane.
literally buy Apple, like the company, 4 times over with that amount of money. Like, it is
That's insane.
insane to me. It is insane.
But
The amount of iPhones you would have
I'm yeah,
with
literally the
$4.3 trillion.
um no, but I really think that it's like in the last few years that the wellness industry has like really seen a spike. And I think
Mhm.
with COVID, that's one of the industries that really thrived during these unprecedented times because everyone was like moving to COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
moving to COVID, like what am I trying to say? Like moving towards that coping with COVID through wellness and like wellness trends. And it's actually really interesting because we were having a conversation about supply chain at work.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, I don't work in that world anymore. So like there's a lot of things that I don't know, especially that have changed since COVID happened. But somebody was saying how there's like such a rise. Someone from supply chain was saying that there's such a rise in like home equipment and like home accessories and just like bettering your home space that it's really difficult or it's become more difficult for retailers that aren't in that business to
Mhm.
find space on like vessels or carriers because they need like bigger carriers or bigger vessels to carry the things for your home, which are just like bigger in size. And so they
Yeah.
don't, it's taking up a lot of space, which I think is so interesting because it literally goes to show how the entire like consumer mindset has changed towards being like I need to like beautify and like make well or like focus on wellness within my home and then those products are bigger, so the trickle down effect.
Yeah, 100%. I know that uh when COVID first happened and we were told that we needed to stay indoors, I feel like I stocked up on every possible wellness, like, it's like self-care Sunday for the rest of my freaking life. Like, any
Yeah.
possible thing that I could do on a self-care Sunday, I bought, like, in tenfold. It
Yeah,
makes sense that 1, it's funny how consumer behavior has shifted and how the, like, idea of capitalism still holds strong just
like even
across
stronger if
even
not.
yeah, except in just across different industries and not necessarily in the one that you and I work in, but I think of I think of websites like Goop, who literally, when you and I had to, like, shut down basically because our industry was widely affected, but when you and I had to shut down, places like Goop thrived. They were like, "Okay, we're gonna actually
Phenomenal.
work harder
Yeah,
and
they're like we're
more.
working overtime.
We're working overtime because there's a demand for the work that we're doing right now, even more so than what we were doing before."
Yeah, I feel like places like Goop specifically, and this is just something that I've seen kind of as I myself become more immersed in the health and wellness industry, just out of like curiosity and like wanting to focus on wellness myself. Um, Places like Goop and some other companies too, like there's so many wellness trends that I can just automatically like I automatically identify as being like appropriated because they're from my culture, because they're from India. And
Yeah.
so there's so many things that I see that I'm like, what like like not necessarily what is this, but like it's literally been taken and like repackaged as this like cool new thing that like has just been found by us and like we're here to like spread the good word of wellness to you. And I'm like, I literally like I know what this is. Like and my grandma has been having it for like her whole life.
Yeah.
So it's at least 80 years old, if not older. Like it's not from you, Goop. Um, but yeah, so many things like for a very like or a very quick example is turmeric. And it drives me freaking nuts when people are like turmeric and they literally spell T-U-M. I'm like, turmeric doesn't exist,
Yeah.
but that's cool. Unless you really did find something called turmeric, which is different than turmeric, you're wrong. Like it doesn't exist. But so many people are like, this is the best thing ever. Like buy my my supply, buy my supplement of like turmeric powder or like turmeric pills. And I'm like, what the frick? Like literally, I'm like, what is this? Like stop. And like everyone has jumped on it. Even Starbucks is like turmeric latte.
Yeah,
I'm like,
golden lattes.
yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. Gwyneth Paltrow, like there's something about her. I guess because I'm thinking like there's just something about her that really catapulted her into the spotlight and into fame with this like concept of goop. But I think it also just like with what you're saying goes back to this idea of like whitewashing in a way. And
Yeah.
she's almost the poster child of that white
Yeah.
woman luxury that wellness has now become a mascot
Exactly.
for.
No, absolutely. And I think like obviously she was ahead of the game in the sense that she was the first one who maybe started selling wellness.
Yeah.
Um which is why it she quickly became so big in the industry. Um but she literally claims that she not invented but brought yoga to the West. And I'm like,
My girl.
Uh, okay. Like, I mean, I don't have like the literal receipts to be like, no, it was XYZ person, but I'm gonna go ahead and make a fairly founded in like some common sense like estimate that it wasn't you, Gwyneth Paltrow, but that's cool. Also, like I think that like she is like the embodiment of it, but it has literally broken out and like so many people do it. It's like
Yeah.
almost like giving the green light to all the other people that have done it. You know what I mean?
Well, she's like paved the path for other white women to do the same. And I like
Yeah.
it's hard because you and I have such an interest in health and wellness and like wellness trends that we are almost like complacent in a way, like we fall
Yeah.
into it. Like literally, I
Yeah.
just bought a book called Beauty Water. And it's wellness hydrate I'm not joking. It's literally wellness hydration recipes, and the book is great, and she refers
Yeah.
to, like, she literally, like, refers to every single cultural reference that her recipes are based off of, so it's not like she's taking these ideas as her own, but that concept of, like, luxury water to better your
Yeah.
health is something that is, like, very it is very I don't know what the word is, but it's just like it's a very uh
Westernized idea.
yes, thank you. Yes, westernized thing.
Yeah. And it's great that she like credits it back to wherever it came from, but at the end of the day, she's still profiting off of it. And I
Mhm.
think that kind of is like the larger sort of issue or like takeaway from this is that it's at the end of the day, white people who have commodified these different aspects of wellness and profit off of it. So they could even be like yoga was founded in India or whatever. But the point is that you have now taken it, somehow altered it so that it's not even what, it's supposed to what it originally was. You've like repackaged it and now you're selling it as your own and profiting off of it. And I think it's hard to like with things like, for example, a turmeric latte. Like, you're not supposed to consume like that much turmeric. Like, literally, you use it in food as like a sprinkling. But people are now like, here's 7 tablespoons of turmeric for my like grande turmeric latte. It's like, no, like that's like that's not it. And also like I wonder like how these trends raise the prices for people who in communities that actually need this. Like, for example, something that became super popular was quinoa as like an alternative to like processed carbs, like rice, for example. Um, and then there was a whole thing where it was like people are harvesting quinoa at such an alarming rate. It's like destroying the earth. And it's really hard because communities that actually rely on it for food, like because that's like their agricultural like that's their localized agriculture aren't don't have it anymore because they have to farm it so heavily and then ship it all out. So it's like really interesting too about how it's not just about like the commodification of something and then who profits off of it, but on the other end too, it's like who is suffering because of this like new superfood or new whatever it might be.
That's exactly what I found with sage and the idea of
Yeah.
saging. Like the
Yeah.
commodification and westernization of sage has actually led to an over harvesting of it.
Yeah.
And as a result, indigenous communities who actually use it for medicinal purposes don't have the same access to it as they used to in the past. It's become so limited for the people whose like whose health and actual wellness
Yeah.
truly depend on.
Yeah. No, exactly.
This
And
world's
it was
wild,
funny.
honestly, I don't know what to tell you.
It is. Yeah, it is. Genuinely, like it is. Like these people's livelihoods are affected
Yeah.
and we're out here like, hey God, please cleanse my energy because my ex-boyfriend didn't text me back. That's literally us. Like never talk to us again because we suck. And anybody who has done this, we all collectively suck. Okay. So that's that. Um, but in rise, like in addition to the rise of just like actual things that have been commodified, like actual tangible things. I think another big thing that has been sort of whitewashed is like two big things but kind of fall under one umbrella of like alternative healing. Like I think that in a whole like meditation, crystals, energy healing, like those are all big things that are big practices that are like really taking off and everyone's like meditation, meditation and there's like Headspace, is that the app or like
Yeah.
Mind Headspace, right?
Yeah.
Or like all these other apps or like even like shows on Netflix or YouTube or whatever. And even people who are doing fitness videos are like doing meditation and it's really hard because not it's not hard but it's like those are also practices that have been commodified.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's like there I think wherever there's a demand,
Yeah,
capitalism will follow. Like it literally will follow. Be like,
literally.
I'm here. Thanks so much for the tip. Here is
Yeah,
my turmeric latte without turmeric without the R.
yeah,
For
literally.
$100. Please buy it now. I think it just is like wherever demand is, the crowd goes. But I think in terms of these alternative healing, everything that like we're listing off, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, I do this too, or this
Yeah,
is something
I
that I
know.
participate in. It's hard because it's not like we're saying don't do them because
Yeah,
they do provide uh real benefit to your health. But I think, and we've talked about this before, as a customer, we have so much power with where we put our money.
exactly,
And so
exactly.
it's really choosing who you are going to invest in and who you choose to trust your health with.
Yeah, and I also think like you're right. Like I guess the takeaway isn't like never buy a turmeric latte. Like that's not the takeaway. But like when you are participating in these wellness trends or general practices or routines that you have now built into your everyday life that are around that use these sort of aspects of like other cultures, like who is profiting off of that? Like if you go and you take a yoga class, like where are you taking that yoga class from? Who are you giving your money to? If you buy sage, where are you buying it from? Who are you giving your money to get you this sage? And I think it's really hard because it's very difficult and it's a very intricately woven like thing where the money sort of just funnels to like the people on top, and oftentimes the people on top are not the people who like need the money the most, or in this case are the people who like from where their religious or cultural background is where your wellness trend is coming from or stems from. But I think like taking that extra step to kind of be more mindful and more conscious of what you're doing and where you're getting it from just makes such a bigger difference in the world. And then you can, it kind of goes back to like what we were talking about when we were talking about shopping sustainably or locally, but you can actually feel good about, you can feel better about doing the act of wellness because you
Yeah.
know, well, it's also coming from a good place to begin with.
Yeah. I also think it's worth knowing too, like I know when I'm in yoga, I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what the
Yeah.
significance of what they're saying is. So I think too having a curiosity, like when you
Yeah.
participate in something that you know is appropriated from another culture or has stemmed from another culture
Yeah.
is just is a type of empathy and knowledge that I think the world can really do more of.
Totally. I literally could not agree more. I think that extra step of like seeking out knowledge and trying to be more aware, be more knowledgeable is certainly also a step in the right direction for
Mhm.
sure. Um, I think it becomes obviously tricky though when like there's a lot of things that like another beauty trend that's like very popular is like deep conditioning or putting oil in your hair.
Mhm.
Um, and I know it's something that is done a lot in India. Like you always put coconut oil in your hair and you braid it and you usually leave it. And it's like even like after you just take a shower, you rub a little bit of coconut oil to like braid it and then you leave it. And a lot of people get made fun of it because it like because of the smell or because of whatever. Um which is another thing with turmeric as well because it's used in a lot of Indian cooking and it does have a smell when you cook it.
Mhm.
Um And so I always find it interesting when I like watch YouTubers or vloggers who are like, I've put this oil in my hair. Like, I'm going to go out. Like, do you think anybody will notice? Like, haha, it's all good. Haha. And I think the reason why I feel maybe a little bit extra like stung, I guess, by when I see these things happen or like just generally is because when my grandma moved to Germany, that's where my mom grew up. And that's where like her family was, like a lot of people would like stop and stare at my grandma and be like, what is that in your nose, because she had a nose ring, or
Mhm.
like stuff about what she was wearing or her clothes or her hair or whatever. And so, you know, kind of coming full circle and being on the other extreme of that, which is like people have like literally commodified those things so much, is it literally in my mind is like a full circle moment for in like the worst way. And I think is why I like take these things maybe more to heart than like I would otherwise, because I'm like, oh, but like 30 years ago, which obviously was a very long time, whatever, but like it just goes to show how much power like white culture has when they like take something and rebrand it as something that's like now cool. And people who were like once ostracized for doing the exact same thing, well, now YouTubers doing it and it's cool and trendy. You know what I mean?